Today's objective is to be able to solve two-step equations by isolating the variable. While working with expressions, we've learned that the variable can pretty much be anything we want it to be. And depending on what the value of the variable is equal to, the value of our expression will change. So for example, in the expression for x plus 2, I can put anything that I want for x, and that expression will have a different value. If I plug in 2, we would have 4 parentheses 2 plus 2, which then gives me 10. But if I plug in 3, we would have 4 parentheses 3 plus 2, which would then give me 14. However, when solving an equation, we are sort of working backwards now. We already know what the value of the expression is equal to, and we want to figure out what variable gave it that value. So in this example, where we have 4x plus 2, we know that this expression is equal to 100 in this case. So we want to figure out what do we have to plug in for x so that we get a value of 100 in this expression. And when we figure out that variable, we would have essentially solved this two-step equation. Now, the reason why these equations are called two-step equations is because it literally takes 2 steps in order for us to solve it. When solving these equations today, we're going to be using a fun strategy that Ms. Mejia and Ms. Santiago came up with a very long time ago, and it has helped our students really get into the idea of how we isolate the variable in these equations, or how we get the variable by itself. So many of our family members grow up watching novelas, or soap operas, or just dramatic or romantic shows where there's always a conflict in them. Now, what does the conflict usually involve? It usually involves either a couple and someone trying to get in between that couple. In this equation, 2x plus 8, our couple, just like the couple that we have here on the side of pancake and syrup, is going to be the 2x, because they're the term. In this term, the 2 and the x are together with each other. They are right next to each other. So this is going to be our couple. Okay? And now, our side chick, or the person that's trying to get in between our couple, just like the waffle is trying to get in between our couple over here, is going to be this positive 8. Okay, so that's going to be our side chick. And this 16 over here, this 16 is just chilling. It's not a part of the issue that's happening on the other side. It's not bothering the couple. So we're not going to worry about that 16 just yet. So the first step when solving a two-step equation or a novela problem is to always get rid of the side chick first, right? That's how we're going to resolve this issue over here. Like, we would get rid of the waffle in our little picture over here. We're going to get rid of our side chick first, okay? So we don't touch the couple yet. We don't touch the 16 yet. All we're worried about is our side chick situation here. And the way that we get rid of our side chick is always by either adding or subtracting, depending on what the sign of that side chick actually is, depending on what the sign of that number is. So in our example here of 2x plus 8 is equal to 16, my side chick here is positive 8 because we always include the symbol that comes before it, or the operation that comes before it. So in this case, I have a positive 8. So if I want to get rid of that side chick, if I want to send that side chick to the other side, I'm going to do the opposite operation. And the opposite operation of plus, or the opposite operation of addition, is always going to be subtraction. So I'm going to subtract that side chick so that I can send it to the other side. And when we're doing things in an equation, whenever we are solving an equation, always remember that whatever you do to one side, you always have to do it to the other, because we have to keep our equation in balance. So if I subtracted an 8 from the left-hand side, then I also have to subtract an 8 from my right-hand side over here. Now, when I do positive 8 and I subtract an 8 from it, these two things are opposites of one another, so they're actually going to go ahead and cancel each other out. Now, when I do 16 minus 8, that's actually going to give me an 8 back of positive 8. And everything that I haven't touched yet, anything that hasn't been touched or that I haven't worked with yet, is just simply going to come right back down. So I haven't touched this 2x. I haven't done anything with my couple yet, so I'm going to bring that 2x right back down. I haven't touched my equal sign. That equal sign never disappears, so I'm going to bring that back down as well. And I'm left with 2x is equal to 8. So far, we've gotten rid of the side chick. Okay, our side chick is now gone. All we're left with in this side is the 2x. However, this couple, this 2x couple, is still having some issues. They can't get over the past. They can't move on. They can't just forget about what has happened. So now they want to go their separate ways. This 2 and the x, they want to separate. They don't want to be together anymore. So we're also going to do the opposite operation of what's happening here to try to separate them. Now, whenever you see a variable and a number right next to each other, they're actually being multiplied, but the operation is just never written down. So this 2x is actually 2 times x. So if I want to get rid of this, if I want to separate these two people, if I want to separate this 2 and the x, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is actually division. And when I divide, what I'm doing here is I'm actually divorcing this couple, okay? They're going to go their separate ways. They're not going to hear from one another anymore. And we're going to go ahead and divide always by the coefficient, never by the variable. So I'm not putting x down here. I can never divide by the variable. I'm always going to multiply by the coefficient or the number that's being multiplied by x, in this case, a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2. And again, I have to always keep things balanced. So whatever I do on one side, I must always do to the other. So if I divided by 2 on this side, then I'm also going to divide by 2 on this side over here. When I do that, 2 divided by 2 actually gives me 1. So I'm left with 1x, or just x, because 1x is the same thing as x, is equal to 4. And now we've actually solved our equation. In this case, x is equal to 4. But how do we check if we actually did this correctly? How do we check that actually that 4 is the solution to this equation? Well, if x is equal to 4, that means that I can take that 4, and anywhere I see an x in my equation, I can replace that x with the value that I just found. So if I have, this is going to be my check. And in your task, you're going to have to do at least 2 checks to show me that you know how to do these. So on my check, I have 2x plus 8 is equal to 16. And I know, according to my work, that x is equal to 4. So I'm going to check if that is true. So I have 2 parentheses. I'm going to substitute 4 for x, just like we've done in our expressions before using parentheses. So I have 2 parentheses 4 plus 8. And I want to figure out, does that give me 16? And that's why I'm going to put a little question mark there. Does that give me 16 when I plug this into my calculator? So when I plug in just this side, not the equal sign, we don't put equal signs in the equation. When I put in my left-hand side, I do get 16 in my calculator, which means that I've done the work correctly because 16 is equal to 16. So here's another example where again we have a couple and we also have our side chick or our side that's trying to get in between this couple. Okay, so now our job is to figure out what the value of x is by using the novella strategy and getting that variable by itself. We're going to get rid of our side chick and then we're going to go ahead and divorce our couple. So our side chick here is this -5. Okay, because remember that we always include the symbol before. If it's a minus there, then we're going to call that a negative number. And if it's a plus, then it's going to be a positive side chick. And our couple here is going to be this -3x. Okay, so the first thing, again, we forget about what's on the other side of the equation. The 16 we ignore for now. And we also don't touch the couple yet. The couple is what we touch at the very last end. So first we're going to get rid of the side chick to see if we can kind of ease this relationship out, help these people out, trying to get better in their relationship. So we're going to get rid of this side chick -5. Well, remember that we're always going to either add or subtract, and it depends on the sign of the number. So in this case, we have a -5. So if I'm trying to get rid of it, I want to do the opposite, which would be addition. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides. Okay, and when I add 5 on both sides, these two things will cancel each other out because -5 plus 5 is 0. They're inverses of each other. The 16 plus 5 is going to give me 21. And again, everything that I haven't touched, everything that I haven't worked with so far, I'm just simply going to bring that down. So I'm going to bring down my equal sign because I haven't worked with that yet. And I'm going to bring down my couple because I also haven't touched that yet. Now, always remember to bring down its sign. If you put a positive 3x here, it'll give you the wrong answer and it'll give you the wrong solution. If your couple is a negative couple, you want to bring it down as is. If it's a positive couple, then you want to bring it down as a positive as well. So now I have -3x is equal to 21. And again, the last thing we always do is we want to divorce that couple out because they just can't get over their problems. They can't move on. So this negative 3 is being multiplied by x. So if I want to get rid of it, then I'll go ahead and just divide by the coefficient of this term, in this case by the negative 3. And whatever I do to one side, again, I must do to the other. Now when I divide that out, this is going to give me this is going to turn into a 1. So I have 1x is equal to, make sure you're very careful with your division signs and including the signs that are part of your numbers. When I do 21 divided by negative 3, that's actually going to be a negative 7. So in this case, x is equal to negative 7. Remember that 1x and x are both the same thing. So if I check, again, I have negative 3, parentheses negative 7 minus 5 is equal to 16. And I'm putting just a little question mark because I don't know if that's true or not. So in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and just put this side of my equation to see what it gives me. And it in fact gives me 16. So on your task, you're going to solve the equations that you have there using the same strategy. You want to make sure you show all your work. And you also want to make sure you do a check for at least 2 questions. So you don't have to check for every one of them if you don't want to, even though it helps. But you do have to show us a check for 2 questions in order for you guys to get full credit.